Welcome! In this segment, we will be discussing SUNY-ESF Thesis and Dissertations. Let's take a moment to talk about what ESF dissertations and thesis are. So SUNY-ESF Thesis and Dissertations are completed by our master's and PhD students. And the Moon Library has a collection of all the thesis and dissertations that were done here at ESF, and they can be a very valuable part of your research. So right now at Moon Library, the way that you can find our thesis and dissertations done at ESF are by the two printed copies that we have. We have one that you can check out, and we have one that we keep in our archives. We also have some thesis and dissertations that are available online through a database called ProQuest. Let's talk about how we can get into our thesis and dissertation collection. One way that you can go about doing this is to go into our library catalog. So you can go to the Moon Library homepage, www.esf.edu/moonlib, and you'll look for the option to search for books and more. You would choose the advanced option, and you would choose to search just a collection called Thesis and Dissertations. And that's great because you can just narrow your focus down to that collection. Once you get into the record for the thesis and dissertations, it will tell you where it's located. It will give you the call number, and if it's available electronically, there'll be a link available to take you to that database. It's important to note that ESF thesis and dissertations are organized alphabetically by the author's last name in our collection. So they're all together by the author's name. So you can't browse by subject. You can't go to a certain section and just browse by your particular topic. You'll need to go into the catalog and do a search and find those authors, those students that did their work here on your particular topics. So again, you would go to the Moon Library catalog, you would choose Advanced Search, and you would search the collection just Thesis and Dissertations. Let's take a look at what those screens look like right now. So when you're in the catalog and you do the search, way down at the bottom you'll see there's an option for limit your search to Thesis and Dissertations. And so when you're in the record for that item, you'll see an option to look at all the items associated with that thesis and dissertation, because that's all we're searching. And you'll be able to see the call number, and you'll be able to get the link for the electronic resource. The other way that you can access our thesis and dissertations are to go straight into our database. We now have a database called the ProQuest SUNY-ESF Thesis and Dissertations Database. So you could have gone through the catalog and you could have searched your subject there, and you'll get everything, the print ones and the links. Here in the ProQuest database, you're only going to get citations for the ones and abstracts for the ones where we don't have the full text, but what's great is when you're in this database, you'll immediately get the full text of the ones that have been loaded in a digital version. Right now, our master's and our PhD students, when they submit their work to our graduate office, they give us a digital copy and it's immediately loaded into this database. So it's faster available to you than it would be through the print version, because the print version we have to wait to be sent out, be bound, and come back. So it may be easier for you to go to the ProQuest database. So again, you would go to the Moon Library homepage, but this time instead of picking books and more, you would be picking the option to search for databases. You would look for the link for ProQuest Dissertations and Thesis at SUNY-ESF. It's a special database just for us. And this is the screen that you're going to get. You're only searching SUNY-ESF Thesis and Dissertations. You would put in your keywords. This case I put in Onondaga Lake, and it's going to bring back all the thesis and dissertations done at ESF on Onondaga Lake that are in this database. So some are full text and some are just going to give you citations and abstracts. We had 142 results for Onondaga Lake. If I limit it to just full text, I get back 129. So if you just want the full text, you can do that limit. There's some other neat things about the ProQuest database. You can look at the abstract to decide if you want to go further with this, if you want to download the full text, or if it's not available here, if you want to go and actually find the print version in the library. There's a really neat option to look at the bibliography, because as we all know, when you find a really great resource, it's important to look at the bibliography to see what works that person used. So you can directly link to that bibliography. And of course, you can get the full text. If it's available, there will be a link for the PDF for that thesis or dissertation. So let's take a minute to talk about honors thesis. Honors theses are different than the regular SUNY-ESF thesis and dissertations. The SUNY-ESF thesis and dissertations are done by master's and PhD students. We have a huge collection of those. Again, they're in the library, they're bound in green, they're shelved alphabetically by author. Again, you would search the catalog or the ProQuest database. Recently, we've started adding in honors thesis. So if you're an honors student and you complete your work here at ESF, you may be asked to complete an honors thesis. So let's take a moment to look at this screen, which describes what work is done for an honors thesis. So at the end here, it says that an honors thesis is envisioned and executed as a written piece of work. It's not a master's thesis or a doctoral dissertation, but it is expected to be substantial, more than a typical term paper, and result in a product that is of actual or near publication quality. So they're not as long or detailed as our regular master's and PhD dissertations, but they're still very valuable. And again, we've recently started adding these to the collection. They're bound in brown, and we have found a way to make these available digitally. So let's talk about how you would find honors thesis. Again, maybe you're an honors student and you're being asked to complete an honors thesis. You might want to look at some examples, or maybe your topic matches one that was already done. Great idea to look at one that was already done, see what work they did, and what resources they used. So let's take a moment to talk about how you would search for honors thesis. So you could go to the Moon Library catalog. Again, looking for books and more, you would go to the advanced search. You would choose thesis and dissertations again. But this time, when you're looking at the results, you would look for the ones that say honors thesis, and that very first one says honors thesis. So you would go to the shelf and you could just use that call number to find that item. The other option is you can go to the digital version. So we're starting to load digital versions of our SUNY-ESF honors thesis on a page called SUNY DSpace. And DSpace is shared digital space that all the SUNY libraries use. And further down on this list, you'll see SUNY-ESF. And so you can go directly into DSpace, go to ESF. There's a link for the SUNY-ESF honors thesis collection. You can search within that collection, or you can click right on the link for those honors thesis. We are working on getting those links into our catalog. So if you find the print version, maybe you're off campus and you want to look at the print version, or maybe you just want it electronically, you don't want to use the printed version. Those links for those e-versions should be in those catalog records. So again, there's two ways to get to the honors thesis. You can go to the catalog, you can search the collection Thesis and Dissertations and just look for honors thesis. You'll look for the print call number, so you can go to the shelf, or you can go to the e-version, or you can come to the SUNY DSpace and not just use the honors thesis collection, but explore the other digital collections that we have. And this is just a view of what the record looks like when you do choose an honors thesis. Basic information for the citation, an abstract, and again the link to the full text, which is great. So to summarize, it's important to remember that SUNY-ESF thesis and dissertations, whether they're from master's, PhD, or honors, can be valuable resources for you as you do your research. When you find one that is exactly on your topic, it's invaluable. Just looking at that piece of literature and again looking at those citations can really help your personal research. So don't overlook the thesis and dissertations that have been done here at ESF. It's also important to note we're the only library that maintains those collections. The school where the students receive their master's and PhD and honors degrees, that library has those collections. So we're the only school that has the SUNY-ESF thesis and dissertation collections for ESF. So let's summarize. It's important to remember that SUNY-ESF thesis and dissertations, whether they're done by master's, PhD, or honors students, are all valuable to your research, so don't overlook them. It's also important to remember that there's special ways that you can just search in those collections. You can go to the ESF catalog, and you can limit to just thesis and dissertations. You can go straight to our database, the ProQuest database, or you could go into the DSpace, the digital space. And all those links we talked about during this presentation, you can go back through and pick up those links, or you can visit the Moon Library homepage. That's all for this segment. I hope you learned something about SUNY-ESF Thesis and Dissertations, and I'll see you next time.